In the news this morning, the 18-year-old shot last night in Murfreesboro has passed away. This is the second murder in Murfreesboro just this year. Let's get out to Sophie Nielsen-Colding. She's at St. Thomas Rutherford, where that teen was first taken this morning. Sophie, this is unfortunate news this morning.
We've just learned this information within the past few minutes or so. It all started last night just before 8 o'clock at an apartment complex here in Murfreesboro. According to police, people reported hearing about 5 gunshots, and that's when that 18-year-old was found shot in the chest. Still apparently alive at the time because he was rushed to St. Thomas Rutherford Hospital with what they were calling life-threatening injuries. The doctors here were working on him but just could not save his life. He died. Police say when they got to the scene, they found a gun, but no shooter. But they did find someone covered in blood hiding in the bushes. They're calling that person a person of interest. They took them in for questioning. No word yet if this person is perhaps a witness or was somehow involved in the shooting. That's the part that we don't know yet. We're waiting for an update on police this morning. But police want people to speak up if they saw or heard anything that could help them. That number for Crime Stoppers here in Rutherford County, 615-893-STOP. Live in Rutherford County, Sophie Nielsen-Colding, News Channel 5.
All right, Sophie, thank you. And more breaking news to bring you now. Terrifying moments overnight in Nashville. A 1-year-old was shot, and apparently the 1-year-old was the one that pulled the trigger. Somehow, News Channel 5's Dan Kennedy, live at the James Casey homes this morning. How's that child doing, first of all, Dan?
An update on the child. The child's grandmother just drove by and told us that this is a freak accident. They didn't want to elaborate much on that, but the child is at Vanderbilt Pediatric Center undergoing surgery at this time after accidentally, according to the father, shooting himself in the face overnight. Happened about 2 o'clock this morning at the James Casey homes inside one of these apartments behind me. That's when, according to the father, he was giving the children a bath and had just finished bathing the 1-year-old, put the 1-year-old in bed. And that's also the location of this loaded gun. The father says the 1-year-old got a hold of that gun, pulled the trigger, shot himself in the face, and then had a bit of a graze wound to his cheek, is the latest update we have from police. So the father then tried driving the kid to the nearest hospital. Skyline Medical Center was the one that was the closest, he thought. So on his route to the hospital, he got a flat tire in his van. He pulled over to this Crystal parking lot on West Trinity Lane, the first place he saw. That's where police then responded to the scene. The fire department took this 1-year-old to Vanderbilt, where doctors have been working for the past 5 hours on treating him. They say he is expected to survive his injuries. Live here this morning at the James Casey homes, officers are securing this crime scene. They're waiting on a search warrant to be signed by the overnight magistrate judge so they can get access inside, because as of now the family has said they don't want police inside without that search warrant. So that's what they're waiting on 5 hours after this incident, and they hope to go inside pretty soon to get a better idea of what exactly happened for themselves. Reporting live this morning in East Nashville, Dan Kennedy, News Channel 5.
All right, Dan, thank you. And happening now, a man who police say threatened his wife and children is in the hospital after being shot by officers.
Yeah, we brought you this as our breaking news yesterday morning. Knew it was a domestic situation. An officer was responding to a burglary when he heard screams coming from a townhome off Rural Hill Road. And that's when he saw Michael Gerges holding his wife at gunpoint in that home. Well, more officers quickly responded, and they engaged in a shootout with Gerges. The wife and the child were shot, boy believed to be about 10 years old, but police say they're not sure if those injuries came from officers or Gerges, since several shots were being fired. Gerges was arrested earlier this week for aggravated criminal trespassing after violating an order of protection. He's now facing a long list of charges, including 4 counts of attempted criminal homicide and aggravated assault. Well, there's certainly no bromance going on between Metro Police and the DA's office. In fact, those two have been battling over the investigation into Jacquees Clemens' shooting death. The DA's office says there was perceived bias in the police investigation since one of their officers pulled the trigger. But the chief of police said, "I don't think so," and released a letter accusing this woman, Deputy District Attorney General Amy Hunter, of misstating facts. Metro Police Chief Steve Anderson said Hunter was fully briefed on the terminology that the police had to use and why they were saying what they did. So who's going to referee this little battle? Mayor Megan Barry is. She plans on meeting with the Attorney General, Glenn Funk, and Police Chief Steve Anderson to hear both of their concerns.
And city leaders have chosen the man who will replace the former judge, Casey Moreland. Council member Sam Coleman is expected to be sworn onto the bench within 2 weeks and will serve as judge until an election next year. Casey Moreland resigned last month after his arrest on federal bribery and tampering charges. He served 19 years on the bench. Moreland has pleaded not guilty to those charges and has a trial scheduled for late June.
And also last night, Metro Council members were talking about Airbnb, and they advanced that controversial measure. It would basically phase out rentals not occupied by owners in the metro area. A final vote is expected in late July. Also new this morning, Governor Bill Haslam signed a bill that would bring broadband access to rural parts of our state, providing $45 million in grants to service providers to serve homes and businesses. Right now, more than 800,000 Tennesseans don't have access to broadband, which is, in this day and age, kind of hard to believe. Well, a production slowdown prompts hundreds of layoffs for the General Motors plant down in Spring Hill.
Tough economic news. The Columbia Daily Herald's reporting the slowdown is going to start May 22nd. Between 250 to 300 employees were told Monday they will be laid off. But some of those layoffs will only last a week. Others, though, will be more long term. GM has hired 2,400 employees in just the past 2 years. All the employees facing layoffs will be eligible for unemployment.